Episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan alongside my partner, the Professor Luigi Rosabianca. What's on tap today, Lou?
Oh, Matt, we got a fun episode today. Today on the podcast, we've got Jimmy St. Louis. Man, it's going to take me a couple of hours to read this resume, so we're going to just dive right into it. Jimmy was a former tight end with the Titans, NFL player. He won national medals at the 2016 U.S. rowing team. And if that wasn't enough, he took that discipline, persistence, and skill set into the private sector. And now he's creating a honeycomb of companies within the longevity space. So, Jimmy, welcome to the podcast. Tell us all about your journey and, most importantly, Agentis Longevity.
Sure, guys. Thanks for having me. Excited to have a conversation today and share the story, and just an honor and pleasure to be here on the show.
So what is the purpose? What's the scope of Agentis Longevity? Are we just going to make everyone 150-year-olds?
You know, I think when you think about longevity, you think about how healthcare has over time transitioned from finding the problem, finding the solution, to where I think most people are going is it's more of a lifestyle choice now. Is how do we help people live longer, healthier, happier lives by getting out in front of their healthcare issues, by adopting things within their lifestyle that should feel very natural. And I believe that there's this world where currently a lot of people look at longevity healthcare for rich or wealthy or people that have access to unique resources. And we believe it doesn't have to be that way. You know, I believe that a lot of it starts with understanding what's going on in your body, getting access to the right testing, the right diagnostics, the right information to just know how does your body react to the food you eat? How does your body react to the way that you sleep? How's your body reacted to the way that you took care of yourself? And ultimately give you information to embark on a journey. And I don't think that journey has to be going to the doctor's office once a month and get a workup and get a prescription. I believe it's a combination of healthcare modalities and lifestyle choices. So we created Agentis Longevity to essentially democratize the longevity space by curating best-in-class healthcare solutions through acquisitions of best-in-class healthcare, longevity-based healthcare partners to share those best practices, expand services, and give people greater access to ways to get out in front of their own health issues.
Jimmy, when you're speaking to your partners and your board and your investors, is part of the conversation taking things back to a simpler time? And without being political, we are the only country that has to have an organic designation on food. Like, we ignore our circadian rhythms. We don't need, like you said, millions of dollars to eat and live healthy. So I love the message that you're creating through Agentis, but talk us through what is said in the boardroom over at Agentis.
Sure. Yeah, you know, I think that when you think about the longevity space and you go to these conferences and you see 400 to 600 vendors, and most people claim to have this fountain of youth or the thing that you should be doing. And it always makes sense, right? Like I should do that. And then you go to the conference and you go home and you journal about it, and then you do it, and then you don't do it later on because it required this somewhat of a significant lifestyle change, right? And so we believe, one, you have to identify those things that can actually instill change that are attainable and sustainable. But when you think about the things that people just should be doing, I think there's, as I say in the term, grab Jello a lot. It feels like there's a lot of things out there like grabbing Jello, like eat organic. Okay, wait a second. What is this organic designation? Or eat healthy whole foods. Okay, well, there's some misinformation there about that, and people are just often left confused. So our objective is, let's cut through that. There's lots of information out there. You can read about the right foods to eat and the next berry that's going to be the fountain of youth. But from our perspective, it starts with education about yourself specifically. So instead of the general health and wellness education, what we talk about in the boardroom are what are those tests that are accessible and affordable that can give people lots of health information so you can inform the rest of their healthcare journey, if you will. And so that might be things like access to best in class hormone testing, food sensitivity testing, cognitive health testing, body scan to understand body composition. If you can curate those types of tests and put it together with a composite health score and use that as a benchmark and use that information to guide the rest of their journey, now you have a well-informed person who has a true path. And we think that's the big differentiator here is we're trying to demystify a lot of what it takes to embark on a longevity journey by simplifying the
So wait,
process
you're
upfront.
saying I don't have to tape my mouth shut, put a nose strip on, wake up in the morning, wash my face with filtered water, jump in the ice bath, get a
Ice
blood
water.
transfusion, and go to sleep at 3 p.m. like Brian Johnson?
Well, I'll tell you, it probably wouldn't hurt, but it's probably not something you can do, right? So if we could all do right, if you just had 2 more hours per day, you could go and
I can get rid of
accomplish
all that?
this, right?
Yes.
So well, it's funny you say that because I was actually talking to our chief medical advisor yesterday, and I said, I believe a lot of this from an adoption perspective is about trust and building trust. And you build trust by getting good outcomes and helping people start to feel the benefits of this. But she did a good job. She stopped me and said, sure, but you can trust things and you can still not do them because they modify your lifestyle, right? We can trust that sleeping 8.5 hours a night works great. We can trust that limiting alcohol intake is a great thing to do, but actually being prepared to modify your lifestyle is a totally different conversation here. So I always tend to approach goals per year, New Year's resolutions, those things like how do you budget your time and what's really going to become a priority? And I always say if you add something new to your lifestyle, something else has to change. You can have a health goal, and that health goal could incorporate sleeping more, it can incorporate exercising more. But if you're exercising more, you have to do something else less. You could sleep less, you could watch TV less, you could go out with friends less, but you still have to sacrifice something. So I think that's what happens is oftentimes people try to stack all these different good healthy habits to the point that it just becomes massively overwhelming. So our perspective is to say give people the information and just educate them. And maybe they do 3 of the 10 things, but when you do 3 of those 10 things, it at least puts you towards a path that's at least on the right trajectory.
So I'm a big believer in everything that you mentioned: body composition, food testing, hormone therapy, right? And I think a lot of people our age, it's more acceptable these days to do it, right? But then you also have people that don't even know anything about it, and all they hear is it costs millions of dollars, and it's only for Kim Kardashian and the ultra
Yeah.
wealthy. You read Tony Robbins' book Life Force, you call them up, and they want 45,000 before you walk in the door,
Right.
and it's like it's just out of my reach. So how are you guys? What are you guys doing differently to actually put it in arm's reach of everybody?
Well, I think the first is to curate the things that are affordable that give people the majority of the information needed. And I think for the majority of people, at least in this country, a little bit of information goes a very, very long way. And I do often think that a lot of the things that you read about that are available to people, look, there's beneficial information in there for sure. You can think about a detailed gut microbiome test, and it tells you lots of great information, but the majority of information that's confusing for people is information that's likely unnecessary because they still just haven't done the basic things for themselves first. So from our perspective, it's really about how do you curate those best in class information sources. So one of those information sources is hormone testing. There's groups out there like I'll be happy to mention them now. Function Health has done a fantastic job. They have essentially democratized comprehensive hormone health information. Right? It's a cash pay, but they're linked up directly with Quest Diagnostics. You go in and you get expansive panels for a really affordable price. So to me, it's what you really should do if affordability is a challenge is start with the most basic things that give you a large amount of information. So if I was to stage these things, I would say start first with a hormone panel, use insurance if it's available, or it's between 100 and $300 cash, right? And that gives you lots of great information. And then find a clinic similar to what we're building out, or come to one of our clinics and go in and get the things that are device related that might have a low price point. Body composition testing, it's 25 to $50. Cognitive health testing, 25 to $50. And now you've got, frankly, a lot of information that I'm guessing a lot of listeners right now don't have about themselves that
Sure.
would like to go gain access to. And those things are affordable. So to me, it's more of a spectrum and how deep down the rabbit hole you want to go. And most of it gets very expensive when you get into true health optimization, as opposed to more of the preventative longevity modalities that we're introducing to people early on in the process.
Jimmy, have you come across a product or service that you say to yourself, man, I wish I would have had this when I was training for the NFL combine, like something that wasn't available back then?
Sure. Well, we are fortunately partnering with a couple of organizations who treat a large number of professional athletes, and but the reason we're partnering with them is because of alignment on their initiative. Their initiative is to be sure that those individuals, when they retire, can live these long, healthy, happy lives, and they can then nurture the children's lives as well by being able to run around. And I do know, as being a former athlete, there's some aches and pains, and there's some things that I wish I could have done better. So I can answer those things directly. Hormone optimization therapy it primarily is not available for professional athletes due to some of the performance enhancement belief around it. But things like regenerative medicine for recovery and for anti-inflammatory treatment, or for direct sports injuries. So that means PRP treatment, stem cell treatment, exosome treatment. Those things are widely available. There's a bit of demystification going on right now, but those things are widely available. Other things, right.
Yeah. Is stem cells treatment in the States is available now? Because I know people have done it in like Mexico, or actually even in Colombia, that they went to get it done.
Sure. So the answer is yes. Happy
Okay.
to walk you through some of those details, but there's some scientific distinction between what creates what's available and what's not available. So if you are what they call less than minimally manipulating cells, that's considered a biologic and falls within the practice of medicine. If you're more than minimally manipulating cells and expanding those cells, that is considered, the FDA currently considers that a drug. When you consider that a drug, then that has to pass through the full FDA process. And those are the things that typically people might go to other countries for. So that's the simplest distinction. So
Okay.
there's some, when you hear about individuals being treated here in the States, they fall under more of a biologics distinction, which is not necessarily the jurisdiction of the FDA. And then you have some that do fall clearly under that jurisdiction as well. And that's when you hear about people going elsewhere to get those treatments.
So in in college, you played three sports. You go to the NFL after that, right? How did you get into the medical field? Because not only just in the medical field, but exit multiple companies in the space. That's pretty much unheard of. And I've worked with a lot of athletes. I've had them as clients, and I haven't met one just like you yet.
Well, well, thank you. Well, we each have our own path, our own story, and I'd say some serendipity and some ambition as well. So I'm happy to share a little bit. I mean, first off, I grew up in a medical family. As
Okay.
a nurse, father's a orthopedic surgeon as well, so always had an affinity towards that
You caught the
because
bug.
yeah, I caught the bug and wanted to be the one who can enable healthcare solutions, not necessarily deliver them, which the rest of my family did. And so just kind of always had more of an interest in being on the business side of things, but always wanted to have the opportunity to help people as well. So my story. Graduated undergrad in less than 4 years, and so I had some eligibility left, and pursue my MBA and then also a master's in finance and economics. And so graduated early, then pursued the master's degrees and finished up those degrees while I was playing football. And so then post NFL, I had the wild idea: why not just go work up on Wall Street and just drink out of a fire hose for a couple of years? And it was a good decision, but we also had a little bit of interesting timing. I was introduced through a family office out of Dallas, Texas, who was interested in investing in innovative healthcare concepts, and essentially had the opportunity to put together our first innovative healthcare concept as a consultant, and then decided to jump ship and go on and join and eventually run and operate that company. And I would say a little bit of good timing, and there's some blind dumb luck and maybe a little bit of skill, but we were the first company in healthcare to opt out of insurance and market direct to consumer through Google AdWords. This is back in early 2007, so you can kind of compare the timing there.
Mm-hmm.
AdWords was becoming a thing; it was very unsophisticated. So instead of leveraging insurance to bring patients into our clinics, we leveraged D2C marketing. And I guess you can say in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So it's obviously far more sophisticated now, fast forward in 18 years. But back then, nobody was bidding on keywords for, innovative spine surgery and, alternatives to open back surgery. And so it kind of opened up the floodgates. And we started that company with 9 employees. And by the end of year 1, we had 100. And
Wow.
by the end of year 2, we had multiple clinics around the country. And by the end of year 3, people were flying in on average from 500 miles away into our surgery centers. And, fast forward, we had a couple thousand employees and just had a tiger by the tail. And so I was able to, at a young age, just have this opportunity to run this business that, because of this great timing and where the market was at the time, and because of lack of other options, and because of our ability to execute from a healthcare perspective first with great outcomes, and then from a marketing perspective, I was able to honestly just make a lot of mistakes, but with a ton of cloud cover of just an extraordinary business model. And that was, to me, when you guys asked earlier before we even started the show, what were some of the things I'm most proud of? And when I say changing people's lives, I mean primarily with patients, but I also do mean creating great employment opportunities for people so they can go on and do extraordinary things in their career as well. And we had that opportunity in growing that from 9 employees to thousands of employees, to groom these individuals who are young in their career and just show them what success looks like, right? It's not, I joke and say some blind dumb luck, but it's good decisions, it's good timing, it's a great product, it's happy customers, and then it's a great culture. And we were able to really just create that type of environment in that first organization. And I'm proud to see hundreds of those people go on and start their own businesses and just do extraordinary things in their lives. And so to answer your question, it's that there's just kind of this serendipitous moment that led me to that. And then frankly, seized the opportunity and, worked my butt off. I mean, really, there is just no other way to say that. Just worked extremely hard, learned along the way, and was able to have a decent amount of success there.
Jimmy, in your honeycomb of services that you're assembling at Agentis Longevity, what are some of the blind spot services that you're trying to fill?
Sure. So if you think about the different organizations that are being proactive for people's healthcare and the things that they might do well, think about things like hormone optimization, regenerative medicine treatment. There's longevity based IV therapies like NAD plus and glutathione therapy, and program they call Myers Cocktail, and those things that help people be proactive towards their health. There's gut health treatment options through peptide therapies. There's anti-inflammatory treatments through stem cell treatments, therapeutic plasma exchange. These are all different treatments, but we don't want to become this jack of all trade, master of none.
Sure.
And if you think about the difference between a longevity healthcare four-wall unit and a med spa, it's two big things. One is it's not necessarily consumer driven in the sense that you walk into a med spa and you say, I want those three things, and they give them to you. It's diagnostic and physician led, and then the healthcare consumer in this sense uses that information to make the final decision about the path they would like to go down. So to me, the idea here, the blind spots really lie in the sense of us finding those best in class healthcare providers who do it really well, and then the ability to have those providers share those best practices with other providers that we own and operate to expand those services into a curated journey that really is simple and easy to understand and or digest for for our patients.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that you made it to the NFL. So you worked your ass off to get to the NFL. You were done with the NFL, and then you said, I'm bored. I don't know. So you actually go out there and you go say, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to run a business. Are you masochistic?
Yeah. Sure.
You get that, but you get that business successful, and then you say, I'm going to do it again. You must like a lot of obstacles, challenges, and pain.
Well, I guess loneliness is a trait of an entrepreneur, and so sometimes just that independence and that ability to pave my own path and destiny is exciting to me. And the other one is just what's a goal that inspires people, that changes people's lives. And so I would say there's definitely a masochistic trait here for sure. But it's thrilling. I enjoy doing it, and but it doesn't come. There's definitely no shortage of pain when it goes to growing these types of things, but it can be very rewarding when you see that you have the chance to create something new that's innovative that can truly help a lot of people.
So what's one thing that you implemented that you learned in your sports career that you put into your business career? What transferred very well?
Sure. So I think you think about the basic things within sports. So I'll give some obvious answers and then hopefully some not obvious answers. But the build a great culture, have a common goal, align on the path to get there, have a great game plan, execute and keep score. Right? I mean that's the stuff that you learn in sports, and those things are directly translatable to most good businesses. Hire the right people, teammates. Have a great game plan, strategy. Keep score, budget, outcomes, KPIs, all those things are directly translatable. There's also just something about doing the small things. Bill Walsh wrote a great book called The Score Takes Care of Itself, and the book is really about his journey in transforming the 49ers. And he was hired by Eddie DeBartolo to go in. The 49ers, I believe, possibly won one game in 2 years.
Yep, they were really bad.
Yeah. Fast forward 2 years later, and they win 2 Super Bowls, right? And it's and he of course recreated the offense and all that stuff, but there was just something about the discipline. You show up on time, you tuck in your shirt, you clean up after yourself, you treat everyone in the locker room like they're a great teammate. Doesn't matter if they're washing your clothes, taping your ankles, or throwing you passes, right? Everyone gets treated with respect. And I think those things are directly translatable over to business. So when I think about that translatability, it's more about the cultural things and the drive and determination and mindset that I think is directly translatable into the business world. And one thing, and the one measurement that I love in sports that I think you have to have in business is there's winning and losing, period. And in team sports, you can kind of mess up and still win. In individual sports, you can't mess up and usually still win. And we do have that approach with us as well. I mean, there truly is winning and losing. We learn from those mistakes. We re-game plan and we execute as well. So those are all kind of the fun cultural things that I believe are directly translatable into business.
Jimmy, can we lean on your expertise today to help us define the difference when we're looking at sports between regenerative and then what I think you mentioned, like doping, right? So for example, let's take the Tour de France. I mean, that is a very, very difficult 3-week pursuit, right? right? So you need to regenerate beyond just sleeping. It is a really, really tough haul. And a lot of the athletes get accused of doping where their conduct isn't really doping like, it's regenerative. Where do you define, like, where's the line in the sand there?
Sure. Well, I think it is important to note that it's different for athletes and performance enhancements than it is for the non-athlete who wants the chance to optimize their health.
Sure.
And oftentimes the things that should be accessible to us to optimize who we are as people are very safe, very effective, great things to do, but it causes a parity issue in sports, right? And so it's that edge, it's the access to innovative technology, it's the things that can help you recover a lot faster that may be considered unnatural.
Sure.
And you ask a good question, because I view it, there's definitely gray areas, so I just say what's black and what's white. Okay, so when you look at this and you say, from where's the line? On one side of things, there's the things that just make you stronger immediately, and that's those are things like steroids, but that shouldn't be mistaken for hormones, right? But if you are going to take subcutaneous testosterone injections, it's proven that it's going to make you stronger, so you probably shouldn't be doing that, right? Where I have an issue in sports is when there's things that are just great from a recovery perspective. IV vitamin drips, things, anti-inflammatory treatments that just help you recover so you can train harder. That's kind of where I believe that there probably should be some further research, and I think there will be. But the beauty of sports is usually it's intended to be a very pure thing, and my perspective on sports has always been just play sports and use access to the resource you have available that are readily available to everyone, right? Hop in the ice tank, get in the sauna, tape your ankles, ice your knees, stay hydrated and get back to work. I just think it's the most pure form. You're competing voluntarily. I think that was always my approach. But I would say the one thing where I think there's gray area for people in sports, I use the terminology rest, recover, and repeat. And that's what this whole thing's about, right? It's not usually about working to be the strongest when you get on the field during the game and what's that thing that gets you there. It's how fast can you rest, recover, and repeat. And that's usually where some of the gray area comes into play, right? The stuff that helps people reduce their inflammation so they can get back in the weight room and get incrementally stronger.
Awesome.
So I hope that's not too.
No, that was crystal clear. Thank you so
sense.
much. Now we want to pick your brain, the CEO brain.
Sure.
So your company, Agentis Longevity, is a Shore Capital Partners backed platform. So as a principal and CEO, give the audience some insight in dealing and negotiating with private equity and funded backed capital, because they've got to be part of the decision-making process.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but I would tell you that I have exceptional partners. I mean, Shore Capital is picked by Inc. magazine through anonymous research and surveys as the most founder-friendly private equity group in the world. And the reason why they are that is because they truly build a structure that I believe is unique and next to none.
So you never get the urge to tackle them in the boardroom.
I definitely do, but that's going to happen. That'll happen, private equity or not, right? So that's just competitive individuals, smart people around the table. A sidestep to the conversation, we have a family motto of surround yourself with growth-oriented, growth-minded people, and have and therefore you have inspiring conversations to instill change. And part of that is that's been a beauty of being in a boardroom with some non-operators, some non-healthcare executives, but people that are very successful in their own right who might just think differently, and allows us to think critically and be helpful with one another. But it doesn't mean that there's not disagreements here and there, and sometimes you give, sometimes you take, and you have to have the tact to understand when to do either one of those.
You see, Matt, you don't need to tackle me. I'm just making you think more critically.
Well, I have a question now. Time getting on. Now you're on their side of the table, but when you were across the table from them, that's usually a really stressful time, especially for somebody who's never exited the company before. So on the first go around, how was that for you?
Yeah, and I would say to start the answer here, the reason I like working with Shore is because they typically are partnering with first time sellers, smaller businesses, what they call micro cap investments. And so it's very relatable to me. Although our first company was a bit more sizable, it was a learning experience. You know, I'll be honest, I was really nervous. We had a broker, he was coaching me. It was just a strange experience because I just felt like this fish out of water. And we'd grown this business. We had an amazing board. I mean, our board, and I was young in my 20s, and our board was still made up of the two owners and founders of Outback Steakhouse, Eddie DeBartolo, Richard Rogers, the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics. I mean, just these incredibly successful people, and they always felt like peers and mentors to me, and that was just a great thing. And then we're in the boardroom, and we're talking about our business, and I'm getting coached up from the broker, and you've got Goldman and Essex Woodlands, these other big private equity groups coming in, and I just remember being like, this just feels so fish out of water to me because we're focused on building the culture, and a lot of stuff could feel like grab and jello. And for them, it's like, what's the KPIs? Show us the dashboard. You know, what's your cost per conversion? What's your LTV? And it's just like, I know all of these things, but this is not stuff that we grill ourselves on every day. And largely because, frankly, the business was such great timing that we were just having lots of success. We had great attention to detail and differentiators, but it was a new world for me. So it was intimidating. On top of that, I'd say there was some things that were frustrating. I heard I heard one of the guys say, "Look, you're what was it? Your first 10 million that you can make in profitability is easy. It gets significantly harder after that." I remember looking around and being like, "That none of this has ever felt easy." um, so that was definitely a learning experience for me, and it was a great experience, but it was definitely pretty stressful.
Have you given yourself a longevity path for Agentis Longevity?
I certainly have. I have the benefit of going and finding partners who are not just interested in working with us, but who we believe would be aligned towards the vision. And benefit of that is sometimes they get to go in and experience the things that they do. So that's always nice. But I'm happy to walk through. I get hormone panels done 5 times a year, comprehensive hormone panels, benchmarked side by side. I do body composition testing once a month. I do twice a year.
Once a month?
Yeah, once a month.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, just to understand how are things changing. I also wear multiple wearables. So I wear a Whoop, I wear an Oura Ring. We have an 8 sleep bed that measures our sleep and um, heart rate variability and all the important metrics. I wear a continuous glucose monitor just to see how the food impacts my blood glucose. And some of the stuff can be alarming, so it's nice to be able to understand the impact that could have on your body. And then I did have 3 ACL tears playing football, so I get stem cell treatment twice a year as well. So optimize my hormones, stem cell treatment, measure what I'm putting into my mouth to see how it affects my body, see how it affects my sleep. And that's the primary regimen, but still do cold plunge, infrared sauna almost every single day. Measure my sleep. I'd say if I could do anything different and be healthier, it would definitely be sleep health. And something I've never been good at, given how I
You're
grew
too
up.
busy to sleep.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But yeah, so long story short, yes, I do.
Jimmy, if this is prying in any way, tell me to shut up because I'm also a father and so is Matt. But
Got it, man.
your beautiful daughter, Brooke, have
Yes.
you introduced any products or services to her?
Well, your question is really well timed. So I'm actually attending the Health Optimization Summit this weekend in Austin, Texas,
Okay.
and for the first time, they have kids tracks there as well. So she's going to get to be there with me, go to the exhibit hall, meet all the people I know, and then attend some kid lectures as well. It's funny. some call it through osmosis, just being around me. She is somewhat enamored by it. She definitely wouldn't consider my daughter a teenage biohacker or anything, but funny to hear how kids understand things. Like she said to me the other day, Dad, did you know if you put your phone on airplane mode at nighttime, it won't emit many EMFs? And I was like, I didn't know that, and I mean, it's cool you even know what that word means, right?
Increase her allowance.
And she also has this app on her phone where she can scan all the skincare products and all that to see what's natural and what's not natural. So she's thinking about things that way. And I've taught her all the Wim Hof breathing techniques and the meditation.
Jimmy, isn't this funny how your parents gave you the bug and now you're passing the bug down to your daughter?
I think it's a cool thing, and she's wired different than me, and she's also a very nurturing person. So she always works to teach other people these things when she learns. It's pretty inspiring.
Okay, so I got to ask, the three of us get together and you get to create our itinerary for the weekend.
All
Are
right.
we playing flag football? Are we rowing? Are we having board meetings to scale? What are we doing?
I don't want to give a boring answer, but I would say we are doing extensive brisk walks talking about strategy and trying to inspire one another for sure. And that's usually an early morning thing for me or a late night thing. So if I just need to go, my wife says that's the thinking phase, and I go and I walk and I think, and that is where I think I get a lot of my thinking, strategic thinking, and just good conversation. So I enjoy doing that, and I kind of believe anyone can do that. So that's actually usually my go-to.
Are you able to do Matt's body composition while he has a cigar in his left hand and a tequila in his right?
As long as we have access to his thumbs and his feet, we should still be okay, right?
Matt, we got this, buddy.
Yeah. Uh,
All right. So, Jimmy, I have a question for you, and I'm sure a lot of the audience is, where do I get started? Like, if I wanted to do something with Agentis Longevity, do you have a website I can go to? I can look it up. Do you have like a starter plan pack? What should be recommended? What the first tests are? Where's the starting point? And is there like a package we could put together to get it all knocked out instead of me having to go back 7 different times?
Sure. Yeah. So the experience is, yeah, you would go to our website, or you would find one of our partners as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have 9 clinics now. We also have a telemedicine platform that you can access through. But yeah, the experience is you go on, you fill out a contact form, and then somebody can reach out to you, answer a couple questions. If you want to go into one of the clinics, you can get it done there. Otherwise, we just order some tests. You go to local Quest or LabCorp, you get your initial information. The practitioner sits down, goes through that information, and starts to create a plan for you. It's really just that simple. Since we are getting since we're working on growing the honeycomb of services, right now what you'll see amongst all of our clinics is each of them are doing certain things differently, and that's really part of the long-term vision here is we then will share best practices and expand those services, and that's going to take us about 2 years to execute. But by the end of those 2 years, you're going to have access to 30 to 50 clinics around the country that are doing only curated best in class things. So the longer term vision that I know we will be executing on is you'll fill out a contact form, you'll be contacted, you can come into a clinic or go straight to the lab. You can get your cardiometabolic testing, hormone testing, food sensitivity, gut health, cognitive function, and body scan information in a very short period of time, less than 30 minutes. We're going to pull that information together and create a composite health score. That composite health score is your score to look at to say, this is how I benchmark against healthy people. And then you can peel back the onion and see why you might be a 6 out of 10. And then over time, we create a health journey where you adopt certain healthcare practices and you're going to see that score move. So that'll be a very seamless, easy to adopt, affordable journey. That's ultimately what we're building. But we're 9 months into this endeavor, and we have the 9 clinics open now, and we have about 6 more that will be opening or that will be acquired and fully functioning here within the next 90 days.
Wow, that's awesome. And what's the footprint look like right now? I know you're in Florida. Nashville? Where else you guys have?
Yeah, so our target markets are a lot of the markets in Florida, but think Tampa, Orlando, some of the South Florida markets, Naples in particular, Nashville, Atlanta, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Houston. And then we have existing clinics spread throughout the Midwest as well. And those are done strategically for um, to build a footprint and create an affordable solution for people. So those are our target markets, and that's what we're currently looking at potential partnerships. We have clinics all throughout the Midwest. We've got a couple opening up in Nashville. We have a couple that we're just finally locking down in Tampa and Orlando area as well.
Jimmy, thank you so much for being here. We want to be respectful of your time. I got one more question before I let you run.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you live like 4 lifetimes already, so I got a lot of questions, but I'm gonna hammer it home to one. If you could change one thing about your past, what would it have been?
Oh, I would say generally, I've been asked this question before, and I'd say generally I'm happy with the decisions because I think that the decisions that you make shape who you are, and I'm happy with who I am now. So, difficult question. I would say I believe that good career advice for people is you pick your passion early and decide what your values are and let those things direct your life. And I spent a lot of time young age and early in my career experimenting on lots of different things. And if you look back, hindsight's 2020 and have had the chance to see some success, but I think I would have found that passion as early as possible and just started to execute on it really. And sometimes I think that's general advice. I have younger siblings, give them the same advice as well. It's that first career choice that you make does put you on a trajectory, or it puts your life on pause, right? If it's a bad career choice, then you fast forward the amount of time you spent in that career, and you've wasted those couple years. Or you get on a trajectory where you expect a certain type of income and you're stuck in that hamster wheel and you just can't break free, and it's hard to follow the passion because life gets the best of you. You find a significant other, you buy a house, you buy a car, you do those things, now you have this lifestyle and it's tough to break away from. So a little bit like grabbing jello there, but I would just say it would have been early on, define my values, pick my passion right away, and stay steadfast towards it.
I couldn't agree more. I love that. Everybody, that's a wrap. The Liquid Lunch Project. We'll see you in the next episode.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Let's go!